explanation of proper notice.
Notice is posted according to statute. Notice passed and posted according to statutory requirement.
Okay, Pam, can we have a roll call?
Yeah, well, I wanted to make sure it was me though. Cookie? I think she's in New York.
Here.
Oh, you are there?
Yes, I'm on the phone.
Okay.
I'm on the phone.
Roger Schultz?
Here.
I'm here. Shannon?
Hello.
Hi. Stephen?
Here.
Dick? Cole? Dick Palmer?
Here.
George Fisher?
Here.
Oh, you are here. Shut up. Monica Heigl?
Here.
Claire Dewhurst?
She's in New York.
Tammy Alburn?
Here.
Debbie Hardy won't be here. Barb Carey? Here. Tiffany Conklin?
Here.
And John West? Here. All right, good.
Yes, we have 13 in attendance.
Thank you, John. Okay, I just have a few comments before we get started. I wanted to send out for myself personally, and I'm sure the whole board, condolences to Deb Harder, lost her husband Thursday night. John and I both attended a real nice little luncheon get together yesterday at her place, and but she's of course not going to be with us today. Anyways, I'm happy to report that the homeless situation seems to be non-existent for the moment. John and I keep an eye on it. I guess the county came in after they cleaned it up and then did some trimming, trimmed it back quite a bit. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Okay, if everybody had a chance to review the minutes, or any comments?
Everybody good?
Okay. Motion to accept?
So moved.
Shannon?
Accept,
Second.
Sure.
Derek? Thank you. Need to have a vote. Any opposed? Nobody opposed. Okay. Minutes are accepted. All right, financial matters. Mr. West?
Happy to report that as far as the Treasury is concerned, our budget, I should say, we're like $371 over the budget, but basically there's been the same thing that we've had for the last couple of months, and that is under budget based on amortizing for the latter part of the year. Administration is down $4,800. I should say that they have not used $4,800 of their budget. So, and grounds and buildings, they haven't had to do quite a few repairs that are planned on coming up. And the same thing goes for a couple of the other ones here. But the bottom line is where we're spending our money now is in the pool and tennis upkeep and the utilities, and that again is based on the snowbirds and the seasonal basis. All in all, we're in good shape. Kind of a quick note here in regards to reserve funds. We've got about $1,500,000, and reserves have not been any of it spent in the last month. Any questions? You will be, they're budgeted for later in the year. Question?
All right. Accounts receivable.
Yes. As of the 30th of April, there are 3 units that owe between $500 and $1,000. There's 9 units that owe 1/4. No units owe 2, and 3 units are within a legal are under legal issues. 364 has been bought at auction by the Bank of Mellon Trust of New York, and now it somehow ended up in the Bank of America's hands. But it is for sale, and I've had several calls. Apparently, next week there's going to be an auction on that particular unit, so I'm getting calls. And this Hook and Ladder Realty Company has the account if anybody wishes to research it. As you know, the amount owed by the unit for maintenance fees is $10,000. If the bank had followed proper procedure, we would have been only able to get 1 year of maintenance fees, about $4,100. However, there's a legal situation where they have to name the association in the foreclosure suit, which they did not do, and that's benefiting us. We will ultimately get the full $10,000. And of course, that again, I've advised people who contact me about the unit, make sure that they have an understanding that the $10,000 is outstanding and owed to the association, because the Florida statutes require the unit of owner of record to owe for it. So if they don't handle it in the closing with the bank, they're going to be responsible. Any questions about that?
John, what was the real people that's in charge of it?
Hook and Ladder.
Hook and Ladder?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Doesn't have anything to do with the fire department.
That's what I thought I heard you wrong.
The second unit under legal issue is 762 Oakview Drive. As you recall, they owed well over $20,000. We went into foreclosure. Their foreclosure date was May 20th. They have sent in checks totaling $12,484. So we got our money back for the motor remediation and all the repairs. They have not paid back any attorney's fees or maintenance fees. If they do not do that by the 20th, the attorney again will go ahead and attempt to foreclose, and either we'll get the unit or they'll come up with the money. I'm very surprised that they won't come up with the money, because having no mortgage on there, and they've already given us $12,000, I'd be real surprised if we don't get the rest. But the bottom line is there's 2 units, that's the real 2 nasty ones, are getting cleaned up. And the last one is 718 Oakview. They now owe $3,800. They have been in contact with our attorneys saying they're going to make it good, but the check hasn't been received yet. So, and everything else is in good order. Receivables.
That's real good news. Righty, old business. John and I have been working pretty close on the second floor units, so I'll let John take that.
Yes, we have, and it's worked out pretty well now. We've kind of changed the operation. Formerly, we were doing all the underpinning work, which is the reason why the job is there, because over the years, the various support systems are beginning to wear and tear, rust, and what have you. And water getting through the slabs caused many of the problems. So in the beginning, we went with a total repair of the support systems, and secondarily went with like a covering, vinyl covering, to keep the water from flowing through. And the average cost per slab was $4,900. Well, the vinyl topping had caused some problems. Some was slippage and other reasons, and we tried to do something else and found out that heavy-duty paint would work not quite as good, but almost as good. And so we've done 5 now with underpinning repairs in a double layer of this impervious type of waterproofing paint, along with caulking of any of the problems and rebuilding of the scuppers, because they became deteriorated and water was going in that way. But anyway, our cost now is down to about $2,100. So that's a savings of almost $2,000 a slab, which will allow us to do many more this year, and in the future we still have 99 to do. We've done 45, I think it is. No, we've done 45 done 41, and we've got 99 million. And here, thanks to Steve. Steve, you want to come up with a new topic that really saves us money.
Thank you, John. Okay. 2022 and 23 funding of the insurance. Do we have any discussion on it? Well, I'll let John explain it.
Sure. Easy for you to say.
Yeah, well, no, I will let you handle it because I have two bodyguards here for me.
Very good. I'll make it as succinct as possible, but for those of you who haven't heard our tale of woe all the way through, 3 years ago, our insurance rates for the entire package was $300,000. And we were intimated when we do our budget search. We talked to the insurance agents. They said 10 to 12% increase will be the maximum. We put that in, even though we were concerned, and we had a budget of $315,000 with the raise. Raise came in at $385,000. We didn't have a budget for that, but we had the money for that. And so we were able to pay the bill, and they were told again for 2022, we better put the 18% in that they really went up in 2021. Well, we did, and this year, with a competitive quote, if there is such a thing in the insurance business, it came in at 26%, which again gave us a deficit, and this year's rate turned out to be roughly $560,000, up from $300,000 2 years ago. Now, why with this company? The problem is with a $92 million valuation, that's what our buildings are valued at. With a $92 million valuation, very few insurance companies will take that load. As a matter of fact, only one of them that would take that load is backed by the fund for the Florida, by the Florida Department of Insurance. So in other words, we could go to competitive companies outside of those that are protected, but that would be, if they went under and then insurance companies go under every day, we wouldn't have any coverage at all. So it's best that we go to the company that's backed by the Florida Fund. Hopefully the Florida Fund will be big enough if this company goes under. But anyway, the rates have gone up. There's practically no competitive bidding on it. And in the meantime, the state requires us to get a building evaluation every 3 years to make sure that we up to date and we cover everything needed. And last time we were valued at roughly $79 million. This year, we just had the new valuation with the problems with materials and the escalating costs and everything. Our valuation now is $92 million. So not only did we have to have a 26% insurance rate increase, we also had to pay on a higher value from 78 to 92 million. That's why the increase is there. We paid the bills. How do we pay the bills if you don't have a budget like that? Well, the association has accumulated over the years what we call an operating surplus. And that money's there for emergencies. As you remember, I think it was Emily 3 or 4 years ago, we had almost $100,000 worth of cleanup. And we were able to, while we were one of the few condominiums in the area, it didn't have to have an assessment because we had the money in the operating surplus. When we have a budget of over $2.7 million, a good economist tell you might want to have at least 10% of that in advance for emergencies. Obviously, we can't afford to do that, but what we did was we were able to pay our insurance bills with that surplus. Now the surplus is considerably lower, although the report this month shows about $79,000 We had to write a $57,000 check subsequently in May, so our surplus is really down to $20,000 as we sit here now. And so, not only this assessment that they're talking about, what it will do, it will pay back the surplus for emergencies. It'll pay back the funds that we were under budget for, and it also has the increase we're anticipating for 2023. So this should be a one-time affair, and we hope that we're all in good shape. That's what it's all about.
Thanks, John. I guess most of you just saw on the news what the insurance claim was on the unit down there in Miami that collapsed. And the insurance companies had to pay off $998 million.
10 million, I heard.
That's probably where our money's going.
Part of it.
John, do we really have any choice about this? Seems like we have to do it.
Pretty much, yes.
Yes, you're correct, mainly because the state statute says you must pay for it. I mean, you must value your insurance to 100% value, less any deductible. And of course, Barbara and I were talking a little bit earlier about deductibles, and in the case of a big storm, we have a 5% deductible, which is about $3.9 million. And of course, we could get off on a tangent here, but I will for a second. Supposing we did have a complete loss, the chances are with our construction as being a CBS block and flat roofs, we're not going to lose everything. I mean, by God, if one thing just all disappeared, you'd have that $3.9 million deductible to have to do. But everybody has an HO6 policy, which is the insurance policy for the insides of your units. Part of the HO6, they have what they call a loss assessment provision. And the loss assessment provision is there in case there is a loss where the owners have to be assessed for property repair. And many of you will not have to pay that assessment because your insurance company would pay it for you. We had a case when I managed Perico Bay Club out there where there was a small association that lost their roof, and they had 22 owners, and everybody had to be assessed $1,000 to put this portion of the roof back. And 21 of them had loss assessment insurance, and their insurance company paid for it. One guy had to write a check for $1,000. He wasn't real happy. So you always want to check your policies to make sure you have what they call an loss assessment provision.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Guess I'm going to need a motion. Anybody?
Who wants to
With a mic.
have the honor?
I'll make the motion that we approve the assessment as outlined in John's notes, averaging $700 per unit, to be paid over 4 installments over 4 quarters.
Second? John Lewis, seconds. Discussion. Anybody want to discuss it?
As with everything, when I pay my car insurance or homeowner's insurance in advance, in full, I get a discount. Are we looking at giving people a discount if they pay the whole 4 installments up front?
We would love to do that, but it's against statute. Statute
So
says
it does not behoove me to give
it does not behoove you to. No. I can tell you we've already received about 30 checks. We haven't even done the assessment in total. But no, you have a right to do it either way you want to do it.
Okay.
But I can't give you a discount because of statute.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else discussion?
John, I have a question.
Please go up to the mic.
Well, please go to the mic so they can hear you on the mic.
Tell us who you are and what you're doing in this.
I'm Barbara Riley, I'm in Lakeside.
Closer.
Okay. I'm just wondering, the assessments are scheduled for the exact same date as our homeowners. If you live on Social Security, you scrape together a lot just to pay the homeowners association. Now we have to scrape together more to pay the extra too. Isn't there a way to make that like, instead of July 1st, the middle of August, so that we have time to put that together?
No, but you could pay it early. If it works for you better, pay it in June 1st.
But we save, I don't know about other people, but anybody that lives on Social Security like I do, save for 3 months to pay the bill that comes due at the end of June. We have no way to pay that extra because we've already saved these 3 months to pay that June bill. Now we've got to somehow figure out how to pay the extra. I just think that it's a very egregious mistake to make us pay everything all at the same time. To make us pay it at all, really, and pay it at the same time. Just so
We
right
have to have insurance. I would suggest that you know, if you wanted to offset it like that, would be to pay it early and pay in your 4 separate payments.
$25.
Go ahead.
Jan Rand, 758. I'd like to just know the name of the insurance company that we're going to be using.
We have about 12 policies, but the main property insurance that's gone up is ACIC American Coastal.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? There you go, Barbara.
John, just to clarify though, that was not the original insurer that started with what the increase would be.
I don't understand.
Did we have a different insurer before? No. Is that what you're talking about?
With different agents.
The agent.
Had different agents, same insurance company, they're the only one that would bid.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this insurer then is predominant throughout Florida?
Yes, they're one of the ones, they're the only one that would take our bid that are backed by the Florida Fund. And we are still with ACIC, been with ACIC for 7 years.
We just drop those checks off at the office, John.
Or you can hand it to me right now.
I never carry a checkbook.
Pocket change.
Notice with how much is due.
Yeah, there will be invoices sent to everybody. Hopefully we'll be able to pull out the ones that are prepaid so we won't have to bother you with that. But yes, as a matter of fact, we've already worked it out with our bookkeeper that they're going to provide us the billing at no charge. So they're going to do that for us. So that's a good thing.
Okay, anybody else?
Can I just get? I think comments made by the young lady over there about preparing people in advance, like going forward in the future. Hopefully we never have to have assessments again, but if we can think at least do, as you suggested, in at least 3 months in advance to give people that opportunity or at least warning to start saving towards it. That would probably, I'm sure, make life a lot easier for those people who budget their funds that way.
No, let's hope we don't have this in the future.
Well, we didn't have that much notice ourselves.
Yeah, we had no notice. We got our insurance bill, what, 10 days before it was due?
The other frustrating part about it is that the underwriters, because of conditions, will not give you a final figure much before 20 days before. So you get very little chance to work it out.
Okay. But didn't our agent tell us he would be, you know, like a month or 2 months before this new agent?
Well, that's what they're going to work for now, yes. And also, part of the increase was because of an increase in our liability insurance, which was not anticipated. It went from 24 up to about 42,000, and it turned out that we had had a couple slip and falls, that went against the association, plus the fact that there's some remediation against the association for pipes that broke back when we had the split pipe situation going on. And so those things are now behind us, so hopefully we'll get a 3-year run on the liability and it'll be able to come back down. The new company, our new insurance agents came out and we did a risk walkthrough. In my report, I'm going to talk about it now, we're talking about insurance. And they found very little issues for us to be concerned about. There were some things we're going to have to do around the pool and store some chemicals, but they did a complete inventory of walking around all the buildings and our amenities and everything like that, and found that we're in pretty good shape for risk management. Plus, we took out all of those plant borders that seem to be the biggest problem with slip and fall.
All right, thank you, John. Yeah, I'm ready for a vote on Roger's.
Cookie Finch. Deb.
What'd you say?
Yes.
I'm not
Yes,
sure.
okay. Roger Schultz?
Yes?
I say yes. Shannon?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Dick Picola?
Yes.
Denny Palmer?
Yes.
George Fisher?
Yes.
Monica Heigl?
Yes.
Tammy Albarn?
Yes.
Barb Carey?
Yes.
Tiffany Conklin?
Yes.
And John West.
For those who were here, it's unanimous.
Okay, for those that are here, that's unanimous. Okay, John, you can start the process of getting those sent out. All right.
Oh, I think one other thing should be dealt with. I didn't mean to continue, but there had been questions raised whether non-carport owners would be responsible for insurance for carports. And we researched it in depth and found out that the governing statute, Florida statute 718.11.11.11.11F, says that if it's original construction and it's part of the association responsibility, all pay the insurance for it. So that matter was settled.
Okay.
But what about the cars?
What about the cars?
Yes, who's responsible for the cars? You know, they have carports. Some people have them, some people don't. But you have even the ones that don't have carports paying the insurance?
That's the law, Cookie, yes.
Okay, maybe we want to change that law.
She's your neighbor.
Okay. The 2021 Association audit.
Yep.
John?
Here again, yes, the audit has been completed, and there are copies available at the office should anybody want the audit. Okay, all board members should have some, and the treasurer and assistant treasurer and I are going to meet on Thursday to go over some questions that they have with the auditor. So everything's in order.
Okay, very good.
It's also on the website.
Oh,
The
it's also on
audit
the
and the
website.
report.
Very good.
Sorry, Chris, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Thank you, Chris. Now, bringing out floor issues.
Guess that's your vote. That's yours.
Oh, boy. We did a test, and I must admit that the sounds downstairs were not,
Minimal crowd.
very minimal. I mean, big book drops and stuff like that you could hear, but
I can hear the cat running across the ceiling.
yeah.
Heard up flooring up there. Virgo. Spit it out.
I don't know what we're going to do with this. My opinion still stands a little bit. I just got back from North Carolina where I did stop in a flooring store. Actually, it was a flooring guy who did my daughter's bar floors. And I asked him the same question I asked the guy across the street on Cortez, you know. The 71 sound limitation with a 2-inch slab. And owner over here said you'll never get it. You cannot get it because that test is based on a 6-inch slab. The guy in North Carolina blurted out the same thing. I'm not against it per se, but the bylaws are the bylaws. So I'm going to side with that. I think the board is going to take a vote if somebody makes a motion, and we'll let the board decide whether, you know, I don't want not to have those people able to put flooring in because, I mean, I love it. I put it throughout my entire contract, and I know what it does to value. It lasts a long time, but that's my say. Mr. West?
I think it's important that we keep in mind exactly why the problem is with the flooring on the second floor, and that is the value of the condo underneath that particular unit. And the fact that they in turn did not have that in mind when they bought their unit, and now it's being put upon them. I know that it increases the value of the park, of the place when you have it put in, but it certainly doesn't increase the value of the home down below. So I can't see any reason here except for convenience of the person that bought up above, but they bought up above with it out without the floor in it, so I can't see why we should change anything. Frankly, if we were going to do anything, they should be paying the lower unit for their inconvenience.
If I may, we really should have a motion on the floor and then discuss that. That's really what we should be doing. If there is to be one made.
Is there a motion to be made on something?
Yes. I make a motion that we do not.
I
make a motion that we do not allow wooden floors or anything but the current situation with rugs in the living room, bedrooms, tile in the kitchen, tile in the entryway, and we do not change our bylaws.
If I may, John, you said wooden. Are you talking about all hard surfaces?
All hard surfaces, I'm sorry.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Can I? I'll second.
I got a question.
Now you can go debate.
Now we have discussion.
You got to come up to the mic if you're going to
Well,
speak.
it's the board. It's up to the board now to have their first.
This is up to the board.
Okay, so I have a downstairs unit, and even with carpeting, you can hear, I can't imagine what would happen with her clicking shoes if she had any kind of flooring but carpet up there. And I would have loved to have been part of the listening group downstairs, but I agree with John that those of us that live downstairs, it's an issue. It's an issue.
Who seconded it? You did?
Yeah.
I got a question.
Okay.
Is it going to be held, the people that put the flooring in, my understanding, if they put it in and didn't work, it's on them to take it out. Is that still true? That was what was said at the meeting 3 months ago.
That'll be a decision you'll have to make when you decide.
Yeah.
That's really something you'll have to decide when you decide ultimately what's the question here, okay?
May I?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not a board member, Steve. It's not a board.
Well, she wasn't either.
Oh.
Is it long enough?
I was at the test with the flooring that was put in, and the test was successful. The people that are underneath that floor were happy, no complaints. we have already approved flooring like this? We have, I don't know how many, John, but we've approved these before.
Probably a dozen or so over the years.
Yeah.
Don't you remember, we kind of rewrote the whole thing in 2015, I think it was, because there were so many that were approved. And about 2015, we remodeled it, but between, say, 2010, even before me, and up to 2015, most of the floorings were not even judged or granted. They were just put in and nobody stopped them. So that became an issue around 2015, and that's when the documents started to become enforced, because the documents were changed in 2011. And that's when we had the interpretation that Bob McDivitt was president, and he wrote out a quote-unquote what this means, and that's what we've been following ever since. There may have been 7 or 8 floorings that adhered to Bob's definition since. So there's a good chance there's 20, 25 floors in easily.
I think you're making a mistake changing the rules at this point. And again, we've already approved a number of floors. We have a neighbor that has this floor in. 2 different owners have lived below them. No complaints, none whatsoever. So this floor isn't any worse or better than carpeting. It's the same. So you can, you know, if you're going to approve carpeting, you might as well have this flooring approved. And again, in our documents, we've already approved it.
With all due respect, you don't live downstairs. And so you really don't have a dog in this fight.
I'd like to know how it was approved, if it goes against the bylaws. I mean, Bob McDermott owned the
Upstairs.
condo above me,
Yeah.
and he put in the cheapest. It's almost a linoleum. And I could hear them walking constantly. So I think it can be a problem.
Your name?
Nancy Goodall.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Nancy.
I think, you know, I agree with what you're saying, Chris. There are a lot of them out there. Most of them slipped in. I don't think many of these asked for any permission. But the bottom line is, there's a ton of us that don't like it. And yes, there's some that say it doesn't bother them, but it's like being inside of a drum. You can hear everything in some. Now, does that mean there's different buildings and different construction? I don't know, but some of these places are, it's pitiful. You can hear a cat bark across the floor, and certainly dogs. So
None of you came to the test.
None of us were invited.
None of you came to the test.
None of us were invited.
I wish I'd known about it, but I totally, I wish I had. I can't say that I went to it.
You couldn't hear anything. You couldn't hear people walking.
Steve Marachi, 705 Oakview. Well, I got a couple things here. I've kind of been to somebody to go around before out of the state, but you'd have to have somebody monitor this, okay? You'd have to have forms or whatever, who's ever putting in new construction.
You can lift that up, Steve.
Who's ever doing it, so you don't have a problem from the past. Whatever happened in the past is the past. Don't make a wrong, another wrong over another wrong, okay? Business-wise, what's the cost of the bylaw change? Minimal?
Minimal.
Okay, sometimes it isn't. Okay, and then I can see right now, I don't trust the quality assurance process that went on. You got 2 people doing this, and 2 people upstairs doing this, or whatever. That's not a good enough test. I mean, I worked at IBM for 4 years. I know how that works. It's got to be a lot more exhausting than what we've already done. Just my opinion.
Can we
continue this, to do more testing, incorporate people who have very valid concerns because they do live downstairs like Pam. I mean, I'm concerned she wasn't invited because she's been very vocal about this issue. And I agree with, I mean, I'm sure you've got a whole host of listings that maybe you tested, but it hasn't been presented to us, and yet we're going to be asked to vote on it. So, am I saying let's have a motion to continue this, to do more testing, table it?
Yeah, a motion to table would be which does two things. It stops the discussion and tables it until another 30 days or whenever you want to do it.
So I think there's more discussion wants to happen before then.
Well, if the table motion, did you make a table motion?
No, second.
Okay.
Then everything's shut down and just vote on the table motion.
Okay.
However,
You made a table motion.
can I jump to director's comments section?
No?
Not yet. You have to have a vote on the motion to table.
Okay, we take a vote on the motion to table.
You can just do it opposed. And this one doesn't have to be.
Any opposed
To table.
to tabling it?
Table.
Okay, fine, table. So, next meeting,
Now you might want to talk about it.
Just to,
Can we add some of these units that are, had these, like the lady here with Bob McDevitt's place that she's underneath, and some of these others, let's put those into the test too. We have several people that have been living with this, and none of them like having a hard floor over their head. So let's put that into the test for the people that are going out and observing.
Listen, we will try to do anything, but don't forget that this particular installation is with the newest and the most modern underlayment that, if it was approved, would go everywhere. What is out there currently is not under question. And I don't see how we could go back and make somebody take it up and put this underlayment in behind it. So I don't know what a benefit it would be, John. You know, and the other thing, yeah.
If it sounded the same,
Yeah.
you know, the old one sounded the same as the new one. We got a tennis ball.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We could try anything you want to try, but basically you're going to go with different substances. And the whole idea of this was to only allow this particular product, since it was the newest, if you passed it, okay? There's no question about the fact that, as Steve said earlier, 6-inch slabs, all this stuff was tested on. Now they build 10-inch slabs. It's even better. We have 2 inches of concrete and 2 inches of metal. We've got a beautiful conduit between the place. And nothing you're going to put up there of any sort, including carpeting, is going to stop everything. Nothing.
okay. Well, maybe we can get Nancy, maybe you can come to the test and see how this new flooring is compared to yours.
unfortunately, I'm headed back. But I have a good neighbor
All right, so we'll schedule a test and we'll get the word out to everybody.
Yeah, man.
If we do nothing at the present time, are people going to be able to put the current flooring in, or will they be put on hold?
Everything is on hold.
Okay, thank you.
Except for those that already have with it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
Leslie wanted, Leslie also wanted to say something.
I have a question. You have your 2-inch slab. No, I just have a question pertaining to the slabs between units. You have your 2-inch slab. Do you have metal trusses, or what's between that and the drywall of the underneath flooring, or underneath unit?
Ductwork for your air conditioning.
Ask again, please.
Okay. On your downstairs unit, you have your ceiling. What is between that and the 2-inch slab? that airspace?
There's airspace, there's 2 inches of metal, and there's 2 inches of concrete. That's it.
Moving forward, if we have all the people that have upstairs illegal or units that have already put flooring in, and there is a problem with the noise factor, is it possible to put an insulation, you know, the blowing foam?
She brought that up before.
Would that do something to help with the noise alleviation between owners?
Everything would
It
fall,
wouldn't be-
yes.
It would be between the association, it would be more of owner to owner, and cut the costs between them to put it through.
That could be research. All I know is that anything you would put in there would help. What we're told is that the spaces, even if there's an inch of air, it helps. So anything that you would put in there is help. But as far as what could be done in that manner, I'm not experienced enough to tell you. I'd have to research it.
Because up north, you have like insulation that you put in like an attic or between the floors. And I was just wondering if you blew, you know, that purple insulation in that expands, if that would help, you know, alleviate some of the noise of units that have already gone before us.
The interesting thing about that is that if you really take the strict definition of a unit, that space between the units is associations.
Okay.
Yeah, because the boundary of the unit is the top is the bottom of the pane of the ceiling to the floor.
But since they've changed the structure, would it still be ours? Would it be?
It could, it's going to be an interesting question, but it theoretically could be.
John, I remember whenever.
Please,
Linda West, 233.
You gotta get
Would
close,
like
you
to-
gotta
Have
get
to
close to the
talk
mic.
right up to the microphone, please.
When we had our sky tube put in, I saw big bats of insulation that's in between.
you don't have anybody above you.
Okay, so.
You have a different system than they have.
That's different
Yeah.
than somebody
Yes.
from beneath.
Yeah,
you.
because beneath you don't have that type of thing. But you who have single units obviously have a bigger space between you.
Okay, that's fine. I couldn't understand why there wouldn't be any insulation.
Patricia Trine on 158. Maybe what the association should do is upon new people moving in, you should quit taking out that soundproof ceiling that was put in to help eliminate some of that noise at the very beginning. Isn't that bubble ceiling? What do they call that?
Popcorn.
Isn't that like an insulation as well?
No, it's just aesthetic.
No, it's not.
But it's cosmetic
It's
mostly.
just to cover up the booth.
Yeah, popcorn is considered by law as a portion of the paint.
Yeah, it's cosmetic, yes.
Richard, if you want to speak, you gotta come
Can you
here.
hear me okay?
No, can't hear a word you're saying.
Did you make a decision, because I was here so late, I heard it was being pushed to tomorrow for the committee for this. Now, I brought all stats.
Identify yourself, sir.
Oh, 244 Richard Moran.
You gotta pick up the mic, Richard.
244 Richard Moran. And they have all
Richard,
types
you
of...
gotta hold the mic up there while you talk.
Singing to it.
Right. You know, I bought some information that to go under, you know, because, how high does it have to be, 7 or 7.1?
No, that's all been tabled for now.
It's all, so we don't even have an answer yet.
We don't have a discussion.
Exactly.
And I'm living with, because I didn't know we even had a committee for this. I thought as long as I got the sound assessment where it should be, you know, there's no problem. So I had my floor stripped. I'm like, you know, I can't even walk in the living room or dining room. It's down to the cement. And they have, besides the stuff that you buy with the pads on the bottom and stuff, to get over that 7.1 by quite a bit, you can get like a plastic thing to lay down too, besides the cushion. You know, it's either what is it, it's rubber, or what's the other one, the cork, that are very good for that. But adding that plastic, and that's on the product already, it's already on there. And so if you put the plastic down under it, it comes up to about, I think it's, because what was the number, 70, I think it was?
71.
71, it
But
goes
here's
well
the-
above that.
Here's the problem. All the ratings that every specification sheet is rated on a 6-inch slab. And we don't have a 6-inch slab that it goes onto. And so the 71 rating you have there is absolutely correct, but it would not necessarily equate to our flooring because we have less of a slab between.
Oh, you don't have 6 inches?
No. 2 inches.
2 inches?
2 inches slab, 2 inches steel, 4 inches.
So, is there a possibility we can go anywhere with this, with, doing other stuff? Yeah, but this is taking an awful long time.
We're trying to work that out.
So, how much longer will it take to find out which way you're gonna go?
Well, it's going to be at least till the next board meeting.
Which is when?
A month.
A month?
Better buy some rugs, Richard.
All right, thank you.
All right, new business. Communications.
Okay, we have a couple of communications to report on, which are included in your report. Letter, excuse me. First letter was written to Ms. B. Gallagher, 512 Lakeside Drive, regarding heated discussions at the pool that disturb people. Ms. Gallagher came in, picked up her passes and said in the future she will utilize them as required. Second letter was to Mr. Sight. This would be the second letter on the subject sent to him. He had one last year concerning the non-registration of guests or rentals or leasing of his unit. Last year we sent him a letter, and he contacted me and contended that they were relatives. I took him for his word. This year, again, the neighbors in the area reported the similar action, so he was written this time, and the board at his last meeting fined the gentleman for 3 incidents of $100 each. He was notified of that fine. He received the notification on May 9th. He has 2 weeks to respond. In the interim, his neighbor, Miss Thomas, Nancy Arnold now, has written a letter contending that the board's action may have been ill-advised or not researched to the right degree. I have that for you. If there's any discussion you wish to do, you may or may not do that. That's up to you. I have not heard from Mr. Straight at all.
Well, regardless of...
Yeah, okay.
Regardless...
You don't...
I'm sorry. Regardless of Ms. Arnold's letter, any guests are supposed to register at the office, and that hasn't been done.
Well, particularly any guests that are residents when the owner's not in residence.
Correct. That's what I mean.
That's specifically what the issue is here.
Yes, and that's what these all were that we levied the fines for.
Okay. Final letter was written to Ms. Kaplowitz, 171 Pinehurst Drive, regarding feeding of undomesticated animals, primarily cats in the area. There historically have been cats in that area due to the former owner, who unfortunately has passed away, but she used to feed them, and the cats still hang around, and I guess there's some empathy for those cats. I have checked since the letter written, and the area seems to be clean. She did not contact me, but conversely, I believe she's following the directions.
Unit owner's request.
Okay, unit owner requests. The unit owner request H cluster historically had no arrows. No arrows for directional driving. When the roads were resurfaced in that area 3 years ago, the construction man put arrows in. One as you come in, one this way, circling around, and one coming out. That basically, for the one of the term, for those who are going in on the left, now we're directed to go all the way around and pull in. Those living on the left, those living on the right could go directly to their place. Because one parking, Tom Pence, when he comes in, he's only about 12 feet, so he just pulls into his space that way. And most others on the left side going in go straight instead of going all the way around. There was some contention about that could be bad, that could be good. So there didn't seem to be a consensus against it, so the arrows were painted over to let people go the way they've been going for 10 to 12 to 14 years. One of the owners said no, that should not be unilateral action without action by the board or the owners. So the arrows went back. And the arrows are painted back, and right now it's what would be historically in line, if you will. There are precedences. Is that you should have a vote of the owners that they want the arrows, they don't want the arrows, they want one arrow one way, they want them up, they want down, they want sideways. So that's what it's here before, because a majority of owners there want a vote.
Well, I think let's send down the vote then.
Okay, have a motion. Wait a minute, don't speak until there's a motion on the floor, please.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
No speaking until we have a motion on the floor, please.
Do I have a motion? Either way, to take a vote?
Sure, I'll move.
All right.
Dick will go. Second.
I second.
Monica Heigl seconds.
All right, to have a vote.
To have a vote.
Okay. To have a vote to remove arrows, to, wait, let me, just so we understand. Leslie, we'll get you. What is the motion? Is the motion to have a vote to see what the people want, Richard, or to remove the arrows like it was historically?
I think what the people want.
My motion would be to have,
Sorry.
My motion would be to have a vote of the units to determine whether there will be arrows or no arrows.
Okay, great. That's, I
Yeah.
second that.
All right.
That would be the motion.
All right, so that's the motion, arrows or no arrows? Okay. And that's seconded, Monica? Yeah, okay. All right, now discussion. Leslie, I think you might want to speak.
I would love to.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay, first of all, John, I was the owner who originally contacted the office to complain about the danger of owners in the front and the right-hand side going directly against the arrows into their parking spots from the wrong way, clearly the wrong way, against the arrows. And because we live in a corner unit,
idea of having no arrows so there would be two-way traffic in that small area makes it even more dangerous. And people who go the wrong way against the arrows are just asking for a terrible collision because you can't see them because of the carports. So the vote should be arrows going right or arrows going left. To have no arrows is to ask for even more danger, and that's not, if anybody has the time before they make this vote, they should drive around there and see how narrow it is in some parts, and it would be foolhardy to make it a two-way street. So I asked the office to paint the arrows, and instead, the office listened to people who came in and complained, I don't know how they knew I had, and painted over the arrows, painted them black. And only last week were the arrows repainted white with the correct directions. And I think that the arrows should stay painted white until all owners are allowed to vote, because most of the owners who live in the back and who would face the serious consequences of no arrows have left. So please consider changing the motion to arrows right or arrows left. Thank you.
You do not have to.
I think it's important that I speak as a member of the H cluster, not as a board member at this point. I respect what Leslie is saying, but around, I believe in the 1970s, these units were built. And until 2015, 2016, there were no arrows. There has never been an accident. We have been in the cluster since 2003. There has never been an accident because everyone is cautious and move through the area slowly. That's why I would propose that the unit members of the H cluster be the ones that make the decision. If in fact everyone is careful, as we have done for 50-some years or at least 40-some years, it should not be an issue. Thank you.
Any more discussion? You call the question.
Okay. Question. We have to vote on the motion, I think.
Well, John can ask a question before we vote.
Sure. Since this is going to be voted on by the cluster, I don't think the board should have to even deal with it. I think the point is it's going to be voted on by the cluster, and the cluster, that vote itself will then be brought to the board, and we at that time will decide whether or not it's what's going to happen.
Basically, you're right, but you're commissioning the vote. People are asking you to have the vote. That means the office will send out the registered letters and things of that nature. And there will be, obviously, votes sent to all owners at their addresses at home that aren't here. I think there's about 8 of the owners that aren't home, that are up north right now. But I have the addresses, obviously.
Question. Let's vote on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go ahead and vote on it.
There's a motion before the floor.
No. The motion is to conduct a vote of owners in Cluster H as to arrows or no arrows in the parking lot. Cookie Finch?
I can't make a decision because I don't know what it looks like, and I believe it should be up to Cluster H to make a decision.
So sorry, Cookie. The state statute requires all board members to vote on all issues unless they have a conflict of interest. Sorry.
Okay. All right, I'll go with yes.
Okay. Roger? I say yes. Shannon?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Mr. Picola?
Abstain.
No.
No,
Can I do it?
can't.
Yes.
Dan Palmer?
Yes.
George Fisher?
Yes.
Monica Heigl?
Yes.
Claire Duke, not here. Tammy Alborn?
Yes.
Barb Carey?
Yes.
Tiffany Conklin?
Yes.
And John West?
Yes.
All right.
You guys get to vote.
Votes, arrows, no arrows.
Yeah.
Okay, the cluster will vote. Managers report?
Yes, have some issues.
John?
Yes, sorry. Number one, we've begun a project to ensure all pipes and roof penetrations are covered with heavy-duty screening to prevent intrusion of unwanted critters. And so I can say that all of Pinehurst has been finished in cluster G, so we're working through that. There's anywhere between 25 and 40 penetrations, and we've got a special quantity of clamps, with a special machine to put them on, and this way we'll ensure that nothing comes into your abode from above.
Oh, Jack, this was awful.
That was terrible.
All right, the agreement for residency for 244 has been signed and is officially on the records. Risk assessment, I talked about that earlier. That came very, very well. We also have an issue in the building that unit 559 is in. She has been plagued with termites, drywood termites, and they have been causing roof filings to come down. And some of the termites, I think, even got into her furniture. There was an inspection of other units, and at that time we did not find any other termites in the building, because the only way you get rid of drywood termites is by tenting. So if they were found in other units, then there would be almost no issue that you would almost have to tent. Subsequently, the gentleman in 557 reported a termite. One. He caught one. And
he's found wings too.
Yeah, I've got pictures.
And a lot.
We'll get there. Okay. Anyway, we decided to test. We had such success with tests. We set up an appointment to have an inspection for drywoods in the unit 557. Termite specialist came down from Tampa, 10 o'clock on Friday, and the unit owner had the door locked, and the key doesn't work in the lock, so we couldn't do the test. The termite inspector will come back any time that we can get back in, but I haven't had a chance to arrange the appointment yet. But he did take a look at the particular termite picture and said it's probably not going to be an issue because it had wings, and termites, wood termites that come from inside a structure won't have wings because they're born inside and they don't have wings. So that termite that he particularly had was not going to be an issue, but we still want to check his unit to see if there are other termites in there. The issue is you're looking at $8,000 to $10,000 to tent, and if we have to, we're going to have to. But even the termite companies tell me when you've got a building with 14 units, you're really overkill to tent when you only have an issue in one place. So that's why they're trying to do testing or killing just in the one unit. Now the owner's here. If you have any questions, and she's upset as you and I would be if we kept finding things, but we're still trying to resolve it, and it's not like it's been forgotten about. I can assure you. If you'd like to speak, you're certainly welcome. I'm sorry, but I'm not forcing you to come up, but we are working on it for sure.
I'm really upset right now. I'm sorry, I'm trying to contain myself.
Please, state your, Joe, state
This has been going on since about July or August of 21.
Please hold the mic up to your mouth.
This has been going on for about from July or August of 21. Found it in my furniture, had to throw it in my furniture. I've had Truly Nolan in. They came in for a free assessment, spent 2 hours. I have pinholes over my bed, and Lord knows how much of that I've ingested because I'm finding frass all over my bed. Found it in my furniture, had to throw that out. I had Hughes come in, they said the same thing, you need to tent, and so did Truly Nolan. Two field guys, as John had said, from Turner had come down, said they were in the walls, they were in the ceiling, need a tent. I have had my place treated, what, 5 to 6 times maybe a couple more, I don't know anymore at this point. And I was just looking last night, and there's more pinholes in my ceiling. They're in my living room, they're in my bedroom, and I can't tell you the stress I'm under right now because of all this. I mean, there's got to be something done.
Could you give your name and your unit number?
My name is Jill West, and I'm in 559 Lakeside Drive. I'm pleading at this point. You know, it's funny because I sat here in 2018 when I bought, and I'm looking up in sitting in a chair, I'm looking at my ceiling and thinking, oh, where they used to have the sliding glass door, there must have been plants hanging or something, but now I know it was termite places where they were filled. And I didn't know that before. I know it now, and I know what to look for. And like I said, I mean, just knowing that I have been breathing this in with frass on my bed, on my floors, on my count, all over the place. I can't sell my place, so I don't know what to say. I don't know what else to say. And I'm sorry for getting so emotional.
I think you have every right to have the emotions you feel. I think that the statement you said is nothing has been done.
No, I'm not saying, nothing's been done. I know you've tried.
Yeah, we've tried to treat it locally many times, and there's been at least 5 injection treatments done over the period of time. I've always said if you know, it'll have to come before the board, should we have to tent. Her contractors, if I understand, have told her that they should tent. Our contractor keeps saying he doesn't think so. So, in the meantime, you know, this thing is hanging out there and festering, and nobody would like it, so we can appreciate that, okay? Ultimately, the only way you get rid of drywood termites, is tenting. So there's no question about that, but there's been several successful individual treatments, but this doesn't seem to be that way. But we tried to at least go into other units to see if anything was there to justify the expense. We may have to do the whole thing anyway. We've already done one building here. It costs about 10 grand. But that should be for her peace of mind or anybody that lives in that building. No doubt about that.
John, did you say that they were saying that, Turner's saying that they don't need to tent? Because 4 people from Turner have said that they need you to
Not to me.
I don't know what they're saying to you.
Yeah, but they're not saying it to me.
Well,
and I would tell you.
I know you would.
Yeah.
I trust you.
No. They told me that they think that they would, it justifies the association to continue to try it, to treat it locally. That's what they tell me. They're telling you something different. I know that if we can't kill them locally, we have to tend. That's the only way we'll do it. There's no doubt about it. So,
I mean, how much longer is this going to take? Because here I am.
Could you give us 2 weeks, Joe? I think I could resolve it in 2 weeks. I mean, that means, by the way, when I said, no, I probably misspoke. I talked to the Turner termite man on Friday that couldn't get in. And I said, if we were to tent this, could you do it? And he said, with materials and everything, God knows. it might be 3 months to 5 months before we even have the materials to do it because of the scarcity. I don't mean to send you off like that, but I've got to tell you the truth.
John, can I ask a question? What is Turner's protocol with all the attempts they've made to try and mitigate the problem, and they still don't want to attend? Or now they're telling you it's going to take a prolonged amount of time to even get for them to come in and do it. Like, what is their protocol or procedure for how many attempts they themselves make as part of their business before another level has to be reached to solve the problem once and for all?
It seems to me that their protocol is they will continue to treat where they seem to find it innumerable times and do not recommend tenting until it's found in other areas because of the major inconvenience and to all owners. It has to, it's, you know.
But can I ask if, like, are there treatments guaranteed? She still has a problem after so many treatments, so something is not working.
No. But there may be a slight understanding of what's going on, okay? A tent obviously creates an atmosphere of death of everything, okay? Dry woods can be here, 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 and there. And the way they manifest it, Jim will tell you, a little hole comes down, and it shows that the droppings have come out where they've made their hole. The inspectors go in, search and when they find the hole, they shoot it. So that one's dead. Those two guys are dead. This one's dead over here. But since dry woods can take 7 to 10 years to show themselves, there may be others where they can't see because there's no x-ray. If we had Superman vision, and I'm not making light of this, where you could see through it and see where the termites were, the localizer would be 100%. That's why they have to ultimately tent it. They go in and they kill everything that they can see, every time. No doubt about it. Jill puts little blue tapes over where they've been before. She's got hundreds of almost blue tapes on her ceiling. And that's where they've killed them. But there's new ones developed. That's the issue.
So, as I understand it, it's not a case, are we going to do something about it? It's just about what we're going to do and how we can do it. I think that's the important part for you. We're going to fix it. We just have to find out what is the right way to do it and get rid of it for sure without costing us all more money. And I think the key thing here is as you said, John, I should say that Barbara said here, we've spent some time, we've spent money, and yet we haven't completed the job.
We spent time. They do not charge us for the treatments they're doing, okay? But it has to be eliminated sooner or later. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I feel her frustration.
So you're suggesting that we continue on with the process here and get it done within the timeline that we can? Is that about the best we can do?
All the termite people agree that tenting is the only way to kill it ultimately. Okay.
So
we've tried apparently to do it. Ultimately, I will for the want of better, I will get quotes from several companies for tenting, and have them justify why they should do it, and then we'll do it as quick as we can.
Well, I'm sorry to add your workload.
No, that's my job.
That would make me feel better if I were this young lady. So, let's do what we can do. Thanks, John.
I would like to say that I think you kind of made an interesting comment that caught my attention, and that is the fact that when they come through the ceiling, then you know where they are, and you can localize them. But it takes a while for them to develop, so it sounds to me like they're throughout the building. So I would like to make a motion that we move forward with tenting as quickly as possible to resolve the issue of the building.
second it.
Monica seconds. All in favor?
Read the motion. Read the motion.
Motion is to move forward with tenting of that building as quickly as possible to kill all the termites that are hiding up there that we cannot see.
Do you want to put a number or a dollar number? Or
No, we have to get quotes. We have to get quotes.
I would give John the authority to just get it done.
I got you. Fine.
Okay.
Some of the guys.
No, I just said no.
Anybody opposed? Okay.
Nothing you can do about it.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Wait a minute, are you going to have a vote on the motion?
We just
did.
did.
We just did.
Oh, okay.
We were having our own meeting over here.
I was interested in discussion, that was all.
Yeah.
That's my fault.
Okay. As soon as possible, Joe, okay?
Okay, very good. All right, next item is committee reports. Building, you got nothing? This month?
Did you agree to this last time? Because I sure didn't understand.
We're gonna get quotes for tenting and tent.
But, you know, you're going to affect so many other people in that building.
So true. Yeah, we did the one building, and everything edible is whether it has to be taken out and bagged. It's a very, very big deal. We'll have to put people who are living there, we have to put them up in the hotels. This is a big process.
Yes. Oh, go on vacation.
Yes. But this is, we've got to do it, we've got to do it.
Yeah.
But here again, I want them to justify why they're giving us the quotes.
Okay. Peter, committee report.
All right. Steve, you may want to note that we're not having a building committee meeting tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to email you yet. We're not going to have a meeting.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes, everything's going smooth, but with summer coming, I wanted to touch on a couple of items. One is, as you're walking around, you may notice an area that's a darker green color than an adjacent area where it's a lighter green, even tan, if we haven't had a lot of rain. They're in the same zone, however, one could be in the shade and the other's exposed to the direct sun. So there's nothing we can do about it, that's just the way it's laid out. And the other thing, the committee voted on the boxes for the villages. The ones that are starting to die off, the impatiens, which in the summer, so wet and so hot. As they die off, we'll clear them up, keep them clear from weeds. And there'll be some, as you notice, like the entrance and some others that are doing fine. But instead of chasing that tail, I talked to the extension service to get any kind of a flowering plant in the summer that's going to last. We'd just be throwing good money after bad. So just the ones that stay good, we're going to try to keep good. And the other ones will keep, weed free. That's about it.
We'll repaint or replant in the fall.
Oh, yeah. And we'll put the impatiens back in the fall. Yeah.
I have a question, Dee. It was brought to my attention this morning that Wendy Barnhart has requested that a Point Sienna tree be planted at the end of Wildwood Springs Boulevard.
Yes. We're going to do that as a committee Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure. I just told her I'd bring it up.
I talked to her the other day,
Okay.
and I told her Thursday we'll bring it up, and I'm going to get back to her.
Yeah, it's in memory of Tom.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Tammy, cool? Nothing? IT?
No.
Nothing? Building committee, we canceled our meeting for tomorrow because there's really not anything on the agenda, and I had a scheduling issue as well. So we'll set that up for next month. We'll put the date out. Let's see, what did we miss?
Oh, comments?
Director's comments?
Director.
Yeah.
Steve.
Thank you.
Energy Savings Committee. We'll have a meeting on the 24th. On the 24th, we'll talk about the future of the Energy Savings Committee. So please be there if you're concerned about energy savings.
Okay, next up, director's comments.
Director's comments are for the pool. I have received several complaints that somebody took all of their pickleball friends to pool 4. Don't know how many, but they served cupcakes, and they served Coke, and they served chips. My daughter was in from Aspen last week. They went to the pool. She said, "Can I make some sandwiches to take?" I said, "No, you cannot." She said, "Well, there were people there yesterday with children eating cupcakes and chips." So I think we need to reinforce the fact that you cannot eat at the pool.
Thank you. It has been brought up several times since 1979 that there is no eating at the pools. It causes rodents to come in. It causes ants. We've had at Pool 4 in the April meeting, someone came to me and said that there was ants over by the sign. And I went directly to the office the next day, and we had Turner come out and spray for the ants. And then they went away. But there again, everyone knows the rules of the pools. If you see someone who is acting inappropriately, such as eating, such as doing things like that, call the association or call security if it's after hours. And report it. That's all we can do. I feel like I'm constantly badgering people saying, this is against the rules, this is against the rules. You know, when people continue to do things that are inappropriate. I'm sorry.
Welcome to America.
All right, Dick, anything? Good, Tammy?
Could the director just hang back for a minute after? I just have a card to sign.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. You got anything, Roger? Nothing, John? Barbara?
I'd like to make an observation back. I'm trying to respect the table nature of the upper unit flooring issue. It seemed to me that, you know, those of you who inspected those units, you found that there was no noise issue. But several owners said there was one. Are there noise issues in certain units and not noise issues in others? Can we accommodate individual differences, or do we have to make policy for everyone? Just a question.
Good question.
Good question.
Question for consideration.
Yep, that's what it was offered in.
Tammy, George, Danny, Cookie, anything?
No, I'm cool.
You're always cool.
All right, thank you.
Owner's comments. The mic is open.
Hello. Patricia Trinan, Unit 158. I sent an email to Steve, to Peter, and to John after Saturday morning's fertilizing in the community. And my concerns are many. and I'd like to have the following questions if I could answered. How many fertilizer applications are done on an annual basis to Wildwood Springs?
Oh, you want me to answer now?
Yeah.
I think we talked with the, actually we talked with the, I'm sorry. We talked with the landscape committee because of the sweeping changes you're suggesting. And they decided they wanted to take that up as an issue at their meeting. So I can answer your 6, but everything, because you want to change you're proposing to change the whole process. So that wouldn't be right for me to answer some of those questions. But I can answer you. We have 12 treatments, 6 are fertilizations, and 6 are weed and feed.
Okay. So am I under the understanding that you're taking that up in committee and then we'll get back to me with the questions I proposed?
Yes.
Okay. For those of you that are kind of clueless here, it's in regard to me having a 4-month-old dog. And when the fertilizer goes down, it's all over. And my 4-month-old dog doesn't know the difference between a weed and a fertilizer pellet. And the people that were applying the fertilizer were very good about answering my questions. I have the thing that tells me, you know, what they're putting down. But when we became real concerned is when they said you shouldn't have young children around it. And then all of the information I found online, it says, when I went in specifically for dogs, it said that dogs should not be on it for 24 to 48 hours. And that made me a little concerned. So all weekend we took our pup someplace else to try to get his toileting in.
Well, yeah, sure, and I can appreciate what you're saying. And like I said, the committee wanted to address it because it is an issue for their committee.
Okay, I think.
Yeah. We have gotten feedback from the vendors saying that 10 to 15 minutes is the max time you have to worry about it, but that's something that's going to come up for discussion.
Yeah, I went into 4 online and it said 24 to 48 hours. Anyway, thank you.
The good news is, Pat, the good news is, since 1979, we haven't killed a dog yet. We really haven't.
Somebody, one of my neighbors said there was a dog in here that died of cancer.
Ah.
Yeah,
But that's the food intake.
Well, I can't answer that.
Coincidentally, I ran into this exact same situation 5 years ago. The way we handled it was the board needed to send out a notice a week or 10 days in advance to everybody so they knew about it. And then they stated what the situation is, 24 hours or whatever, this and that. And this had to do with people having their windows open too, stuff and spraying, and then a windy day, whatever. So that's the solution, is to be preventative. And then when it comes to, heck, I mean, you could have your grandchildren over that weekend or that week or whatever, this and that. So you'll know ahead of time what's going on, and then make accommodations elsewhere, because you can't stop progress.
No, you make a good point. The good news is that they're very consistent. In the 8 years I've been here, it's always the last week of the month. But we can publish it. But like I say, this is an issue we want to get, because she's got some right questions she's asking. We want to address it properly, so of course one person answers.
Yeah, but John, we don't know what day of the month.
Meanwhile, I could. No, I'm saying. But I did say that I was going to answer you today. All the systems were down in the office before the meeting, so we had to get a new router. So I couldn't even address it to you.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
I look forward to your answers.
Yeah.
Spectrum.
Hi, my name is Jan Merled. I'm in 158 Pinehurst. And I used to be on the landscaping committee, and there was this man on it, and I don't know if he's still alive or not, but he brought up one of the meetings about how there used to be more wildlife in our park, and what the reason was that we don't have the amount of wildlife anymore. And I was also wondering, we're supposed to be an Audubon sanctioned park. Are there any Audubon requirements to maintain, to continue to be Audubon recognized?
I don't even know if they're Audubon recognizing anymore, but we were at one time.
Yeah. Well, what did you have to do to be recognized at one time? Because we still advertise as that.
Well, it was done in the 80s.
Well, I just wondered. All the Audubon society. Did I just answer that?
I can say, as you know, I travel the property on a very regular basis. I see multitudes of squirrels. We have a multitude of complaints about raccoons. We've even had ducks quacking. We got Canadian geese. I'm not saying there couldn't be issues, but I mean, we are. I even saw for the first time in 2 years a rabbit yesterday, which you never seen. Coyote hadn't got them yet.
The newsletter, we posted the article about how we first became the Northern recognized place, and that was because they came and evaluated the diversity of our environment as a food source for whatever wildlife existed, birds and other animals. And so, if you can imagine over the years, you have to, this is why we say you can't feed any of these animals, you have to let nature take its course. So you don't see as much as you used to, maybe the coyotes are having a feast, because coyotes are in town now. Things of that nature. I'm not saying that, I don't know that for a fact, but I mean, just over time, the environment is going to change itself.
This is a fact. Down Cortez, where they tore out a lot of buildings, I have a friend that lives in a condominium down there. They now have become infested with rats. They all came across the street.
It's Leslie.
Let's go. Why is she not muted?
Any other comments?
Back to the pesticide. Last week, there was one of our own guys driving around spraying stuff out in the back of my unit and along with weed killer. And then yesterday or 2 days ago was the vendor, Saturday, coming around shooting pellets out everywhere. I mean, it's front and back, so I don't even know where to walk the dog anymore. Because there were no signs put out as to what application was put down and how long we should stay away from plants.
You sure there were no signs? Because the law requires a sign.
Yeah, but we had signs in Sherwood.
No signs.
There was no signs in Lakeside when they
Okay,
came
well,
on
because
Saturday.
we talked about that last time, you know. The law requires one sign, but they put out multitudes usually.
John, what is the
Checked in
difference
this.
between the vendor and our in-house people?
I'm sorry?
What is the difference between what the vendor is doing, our contractor, and what our in-house people are doing?
What's the difference between our vendor and our in-house people?
Right, I believe it was, wasn't it our in-house people that ride around and spray this liquid?
Yeah, we are only doing a plant bed weed kill, nothing in the turf or
No, they're
anything.
spraying the whole lawn out back.
Not our people. Not our people.
That was Saturday, was the...
No, and we don't work on Saturday.
No, was the regular...
No, the liquid spray was done about a week ago during a weekday.
Yeah. Little Jose is in charge of weed control in plant beds only.
This person was on a riding mower that was spraying liquid out.
But that's not us.
Okay, but what's the difference between that and the pellets? Because it just seems it's
Some are fertilizer, some are weed control. And we have 6 weed controls and 6 fertilizers. They're required to post with fertilizer. It could have been weed control. Yeah, sure.
Okay, I just have one comment on the pet thing. I looked up a vet who talks about fertilizer and pets, dogs. And he says owners often have to fertilize, spruce up their lawns. Fertilizer comes in 2 types, yada yada. Fertilizers look scary. They are often applied by lawn services while warning signs to keep pets and children off for 72 hours. In actuality, fertilizers are generally pretty benign. In fact, they are typically have such a wide margin of safety, depending on what type it is, that it will not be able, unless your pet ingests directly from the bag, that, And even if you did that, we would probably only have vomiting and diarrhea, so just something from a vet. That's from a vet.
She's
Not
just
a
got
fertilizer company.
warning, keep children out of reach of children.
Yeah, but
And then it goes on and on.
Well, I'm not gonna let my 6-month-old grandson out face down in the grass out there. I don't know about you. I mean, you have to push your hand in and put it in your mouth. Again,
That's a weed animal.
it's benign according to APEX. Okay, next meeting.
Either.
Okay, looks like June 14th for the workshop and June 20th for the board meeting.
6:14.
Now, the question is, do we want to have it here or there?
I think we should have it in the office.
I mean, we usually go June through September
At the office.
at the office, but if we have this number of people intending to come, we're going to be overcrowded at the office. So, I mean, we've got a budget for 12 months, we just don't usually come here. It would be up to, like the number of people here. Do you anticipate coming in June?
Nope.
No? It's hard to call.
Let's go ahead and plan for here,
One
and
more
then we'll
month.
see, if it's a really small, then in the next month we'll do it.
That's fine, that's a good idea.
We won't do Zoom here next month.
Okay.
Yeah,
I won't be here, we won't be
Okay.
able
no,
to do
people
that.
go to the office, yeah. I agree.
Okay. There will be no Zoom next meeting. People are warned.
No, we can have it if it's in the office. We can Zoom in the office. We just won't be able to Zoom here.
Yeah. Do we have 22 chairs in the office? I think we do.
I recommend we do it here. We have a lot of people.
No, I don't think so. No.
June 14th for the workshop, and June 20th for the meeting. And it'll be here.
The 20th will be at the office, right?
Yeah, I think so.
14th at the office.
14th at the office.
14th
June 20th
workshop.
Here.
20th here.
You won't be here.
Anything else?
Something else I want to
Have a motion for adjournment?
Have everyone else hang out.
Roger moves.
Second.
Mine, a second.
Second.